Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant. For Taurus season, for the month of May, whenever you're watching this really. I hope you're well. I'm using the 777 deck for you today. Here it is. It's my Bulgarian deck. And before we begin, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That will be via the links in the description box below. One of the links will take you to Selfie if you just want one extended. If you want access to all of the extended content that I make for all of the signs, including weekly energy readings and things like that. And the opportunity to participate in our Deccan walk, which is just mind-blowing. I'm really enjoying that. You might want to come over to Circle, which is my private community. It's called the Order of the Phoenix. Oh, there was something else. No, I've forgotten. Never mind, it probably wasn't that important. Anyway, let's have a little chat about what we're doing here today. As I have said a few times over the course of the last few months, the most important question we can really ask ourselves at the moment is, where am I right now? So we will have a look at where you are right now. Then, because we're in Taurus season and because the 5, 6, 7 of Pentacles, which are the Taurus cards in the Minor Arcana, are quite oriented around resources and the proper application of those, but also problem solving, which is something that Taurus is very good at anyway. We're going to ask a question to that effect, like what do we need to focus on? And then we'll finish up with what is the next step. And when we go over to the extended, depending on what comes out in the reading here, we'll dive a little deeper into that. So I hope that that's all good for you. Let's flip the camera around and get some cards for Taurus. What's going on with Taurus? Where are they right now, please? We have the Judgment card. We have the Page of Wands, although it did come out on its side, so let's honour that. And we also have the 7 of Wands. See, I'm feeling quite charged up there, Taurus. That's nice. Extra bonus card. Let's just have a look. 8 of Swords. It kind of looked like it was going to try and come out, but then it didn't. So honestly, I think this is a really good place to start because there's something kind of intriguing going on with these 3 cards here. Like I said, there is a bit of a charge, and I've made reference before about, Taurus carrying that Uranian charge now. And so it's quite interesting that word charge should be coming up straight away. But what's quite interesting is this sense of sort of being at odds with your nature somewhat. And I wonder if it relates to this idea of the Uranian charge. What do I mean by that? Well, Tauruses generally like to have a predictable road to follow. We've talked about this many times over the course of the last few years, right? And specifically around the idea of having a map to follow, right? Taurus really, really likes knowing what the next step of everything is. And it's because of your methodical nature, right? We don't skip steps. Taurus doesn't like to skip steps because they understand the primary importance of the foundation, right? And so there needs to be a kind of logical linearity that you can follow in order for you to feel comfortable. And yet, what I'm seeing here is somebody who is on the precipice of big life-changing decisions without actually having a fucking clue where they're going. And this is really quite extraordinary for a sign as fixed as yourself. The 4 fixed signs are Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio and Leo. And whilst they all are particularly fixed in their own way, because Earth is such a slow-moving element, Taurus generally is considered to be the most fixed of the fixed signs, right? So change is not something that you have in the past particularly welcomed. And if you are going to change, then you like to know exactly where you're going to land before you try and jump, right? But this big major arcana energy of the Judgment card here, speaking to life-changing decisions and speaking to a kind of rebirth that seems to be happening for you right now, is being done quite literally without a fucking clue where you're going. I think all tarot readers have in their head a little story about the interaction between all the court cards, right? How we move from the page through to the king and what their respective roles are. And for me, the page is all about the preparation for the journey, right? I've often used the example of booking a holiday, right? So I don't know, we don't go to travel agents nowadays, right? But you get online and you book the holiday, and it's maybe 6 months away, something like that, right? There's no movement actually happened here, but now we're in the planning phases and we're starting to make things happen, even though we're not doing the thing. From that point, everything that you do to prepare for that holiday, buying your travel insurance, going and getting, I don't know, some new clothes, buying your sunscreen, like whatever your pre-holiday ritual is, all of those things would be within the remit of the page. The point at which you leave your house to get in a taxi to go to the airport, then we're moving that energy to the Knight of Wands. There, the actual thing is happening in the here and now. So the preparation and the planning of all the things that we do belongs to the page. And if the page is turning up on his side, like this, the normal way in which the Page of Wands would express his energy is not actually happening, right? It's something else. We've got decisions being made and these changing in some way or another the direction of one's life. And here's the thing, because it's major arcana, it's one of those instances where it's the major forces of the universe working on us in some way or another, right? Our responses to those are found in the minor arcana. So perhaps it feels a little bit more like fate and fortune is steering the car at the moment rather than you, Taurus. And what's really extraordinary about that is that you seem so very fucking up for it. I can't put it any other way than that, right? And the fact that you're doing this without the aid of a map, without this having been fastidiously planned beforehand, is really quite extraordinary. Because this Seven of Wands, which is Mars in Leo, it speaks to many things. I mean, it can talk about fighting the good fight and, coming from a place of integrity and all these sorts of things. It can be a very protective, it can be a very guarded energy, and those two are subtly different, right? But because it's Mars in Leo, the one thing that we absolutely can say about it is it's extraordinarily enthusiastic. It's reminding me of... Do you know what it reminds me of? It's two things. It's the little dog knight in Labyrinth, right? The little terrier that's riding on the back of a Dulux dog. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's just like, it's just game for anything. It's going to take all the things on, but it's also the knights from Monty Python, where it's like, it's just a flesh wound. I can still keep going. There's almost like I'm going to choose my words carefully here. It's not delusional. I want to make that really clear. And yet, it has something almost fantastical attached to it that could approach the level of delusional in normal circumstances, in normal years, on a normal planet. None of the above apply in 2026. I'll just get this card out here. And so it's almost delusional in terms of the way that a previous version of you would have dealt with this situation. Now, if you needed any indication at all that you've completely outgrown, the old version of you, this would probably be it, because all of the usual guardrails for the way that you are doing things, they're not applying. And the universe has come down here, and it's, God, source, creator, universe, pick whichever word you want, right? And it's kind of pressing on you right now. And there is a fluidity, and we've seen this developing over the course of the last few years, right? There's a fluidity in the way that you're responding to it. Now, maybe it is, now that you've been released from captivity by Uranus, who ironically is trying to set you free, that there's a kind of fluidity that's come along with that. But the freedom is not from situations or circumstance. The freedom is from your own exoskeleton, almost. What about this Judgment card? Because this is really interesting. Three of Swords is in reverse, which I really, really like. And I shall tell you why I particularly like it in this deck too. What do we have here? Oh, Taurus, I just got full body goosebumps. Oh. So we have the World card at the bottom of the deck, because of course we do. You are at the end of some fairly major cycle, and I wish these goosebumps would stop. They just keep going. There is a progression, there is a graduation that is happening here, right? But fucking hell, look at these two cards as clarifiers for the Judgment card, right? The reason why I have a specific love for this Three of Swords in the Llewellyn is because one of the primary symbols in this card is the woman who is sitting by the swords. Now, there's a kind of sepia tone to these, as you would expect, right, for the Three of Swords. Everything's a little bit drab, everything's a little bit miserable. But the genius of this card is in depicting the woman as choosing to sit on the rock. Now, in the narrative that I have written in my head for this specific card here, it's the realization that occurs at some point, and it takes a long time, but it occurs at some point, that at any point she is free to stand up and choose to walk away from what has hurt her. She's not obliged to carry it around with her. In this one, she's not actually carrying it around. She's choosing to sit next to it and be a part of this rather sepia-toned view, right? So the Three of Swords in reverse for me is that point where we realise that we don't lose anything by separating ourselves from what has hurt in the past. And in fact, we have everything to gain. The Ace of Cups has shown up a few times for the different signs in this round of readings, and I'm here for it all day long because some readers will interpret the Ace of Cards as new love and all that kind of thing. And yeah, these are perfectly valid and legitimate interpretations, but it feels so much deeper for me than that, because the Ace of Cups is quite often what's going on underneath. It's the way that we feel about ourselves. It is the sacred relationship that we have with ourselves. And why is it sacred? Because it is through that we make contact with the universe. So every upgrade of self always carries this with it. And there is an increasing alignment with whatever the overarching intelligence is that seems to be running things here, when we choose to do that, right? The signals start to come through a lot more clearly. And here, like I said, Taurus, you seem to be standing on the precipice of great change. And it's not because the universe just went, Taurus has had a really rough time with the last 8 years of Uranus being in their sign, maybe give them a little present. That's not how this shit works. What it's doing is, through the work that you have done on yourself, and it has been consistent for at least 6 years. I've been sitting here watching you do it. It's had you arrive at a place where the things that previously would have been, your subconscious might have thrown up as excuses as to why you couldn't do this thing, why you couldn't venture out of your comfort zone, and why you shouldn't venture out of your comfort zone, have been one by one proven to be entirely incorrect. And there is awareness of all possibilities that are not just for other people, they're also for you too, Taurus. I remember doing a reading with a Taurus years and years ago, probably going back to about 2021 actually. And she was talking me through her process of the last 6 months back then. And she said, when opportunities came up, I found myself asking why me? And there was something uncomfortable about why I should have been selected for a particular thing because I didn't feel like I'd earned it. She said, no, over the course of 6 months, I flipped that around so that I was asking myself the question instead, immediately after the why me, which came up quite, spontaneously from the subconscious. She would turn around consciously and ask herself, why not me? And there is a huge aspect of that at play here. Why not you? Because if you look at the evidence of the last 6 years, and it has been turbulent, it's been incredibly fucking turbulent and not a bit distressing at points for Taurus, I think. What you see is time and time again, the things that have come your way, you've dealt with, you've grown, you've moved on. And realistically speaking, even those things that you might consider to have been mistakes over the last 6 years or so, they've also given you something really significant. And that's really interesting. It's a level of discernment that you haven't had access to before, that isn't sort of bludgeoned out of the way immediately by you can't do that, that's taking you out of your comfort zone, you can't do it, right? There's something much more objective about the way that you are approaching life, which is to say that the subjective bullshit that we all have going on inside of us seems less noisy in your head now than it was before. And it's not that you don't get scared about things. If nothing else, a 7 of Wands is a card of courage, right? Courage is not to feel fear. Courage is to feel the fear and do it anyway. And over again, you've exhibited that same process. Oh shit, this is really scary. I'm tweaking out. Fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. And even in the things that haven't worked out, they've worked out. And I said, it's given you so much more. And now, we've arrived at a point where everything everywhere all at once, right? Time and opportunity and everything is all stacked on top of each other. Highly surreal time to be alive. I'm finding it very curious. It's one of the things that I'm really loving about the Deccan Walk is that I actually have to make space to study it. And I like that. That's very exciting. There are nerves, but there is not doubt. There is not a desire to play small. There is not a desire to stay in the comfort zone. Truly, you have become a bull. Like you are not a cow. Let's have a look. Ooh, 8 of Wands. So we have the 8 of Wands at the bottom of the deck here as well. And this seems interesting. So here's the thing, right? You haven't got a map. But with that Judgment card there, we know that something's playing out. We know that there are bigger forces at play than even you are aware of at the moment. And you're okay with that. It's like the direction of travel is pointing to a very specific place. There will be a point where all of these wands converge in the distance. And no matter how much this path or this river, whatever it is that you're following, wanders around, eventually the river itself and the ones are all going to converge at the horizon. There's actually an interesting patience here that we might not necessarily associate with a card that represents Mercury or represents Sagittarius, and yet here it is. And maybe it is that quality that Sagittarius has, to let an arrow fly and then trust that they will get there. And that trust is huge for you, Taurus, because you're not just trusting the universe. It's not even a case of trusting the process. It's just trusting yourself that whatever happens, whether it works out or whether it doesn't, you'll be okay. Oh, I love this. So, let's bring ourselves to the very present moment. Remember what I said about resources and also about problem solving, because that's it's a big Taurus thing right there, right? Let's have a look and see if there is anything that is kind of coming even close to being that for you at the moment, right? Where do we need to be looking at this point? Right, so Hermit card straight out. It's kind of pushing the view inside rather than outside. Let's have a little look here. Five of Swords and the Eight of Pentacles. And the Three of Cups is at the bottom of the deck here. Now, the Hermit card and the Five of Swords together for me very much feels like kind of pushing the attention inside somewhat. But because the Five of Swords for me is about wonky thought patterns, it is probably the card of self-sabotage and whatnot. There seems to be a position here that you can take where you are capable of looking within at this point to see what's going on in there that may not be aligned with where you want to go. And here's the interesting thing. That Eight of Pentacles on its side feels like a change of direction. And the change of direction is around maybe work, maybe your job, like career, that sort of thing. But it feels more like in terms of what you want to specialize in terms of one's life purpose, right? Because the Eight of Pentacles can be quite literally your job, the thing that you do every day and could do with your eyes shut, you know. But it can also represent one's great work. Now, to neutralize the energy of the Eight of Pentacles here, it's quite an interesting thing to do, because the Eight of Pentacles also refers to, you know, discipline and commitment and those, like I said, those things that we do day in, day out, and we become very skilled at them. But there's a question of whether you really want what you have been doing traditionally to form the main body of what you do in the future. It's quite interesting in the signs that I've read for so far, this idea that that May has an introspective quality to it, but we're also being gifted a bit of a breathing space from the intensity that we've experienced up until this point to assess. Now, maybe this has something to do with Pluto going into retrograde. It's possible, going retrograde rather. But because 8 as a number often refers to our power, it feels like there's a reevaluation of one's direction going on here. Like I said, you don't have a map. You seem to have some universal forces working on you. You're up for the challenge. You seem to be well supported by people around you, right? You're well thought of, and you've got a strong community around you, whether that's family, friends, whatever it is, right? There's a strong emotional support network there that you are not only receiving support from, but also being part of the whole structure of that, right? But there's a feeling of reaching inside yourself really fucking deeply and making contact with a little bit of you that you have push to one side up until this point, because maybe it is the last vestiges of, oh, that's not for the likes of me. Something seems to have changed in the last few weeks with you. And there's a bravery about making contact with that. Like, what is the big idea? What is something that you would quite easily accept if somebody else brought it up and said they were going to do it? For example, like a fire sign. A fire sign goes, I'm going to do this fucking thing. And you'd be like, oh. But secretly, think that you would love to do something like that, but you wouldn't, because it's not for the likes of you, right? That's for the fire signs to do that kind of bold but stupid shit, right? I feel like there's something inside of you here that wants to change course, but I think it's bound up quite tightly with something that you haven't allowed yourself to commune with before. But because you are not who you were before, the old rules don't apply. And so the way is now open for you to make contact with that and ask it what it wants. How do I work with this part of me to take me forward? Because this change in direction, it isn't necessarily something that you saw coming, but I think you've been feeling it building for a while. There are many things that you are good at, Taurus, right? It comes with the territory, because you're methodical, because you're fastidious, and because you won't put things down before they're completed. Right? This builds up a skill set for you. But there's something here that feels like it's reaching for something that you 5 years ago would have gone, pff, don't think so. No, I'm not going that way. And it may involve a change of direction in your career. It may involve a change in direction in terms of the application of the skill set that you've got. But it feels like it's pitched higher than you would have allowed yourself to go before now. Tell me about this Hermit. Interesting. And there's the Five of Pentacles, which is a Taurus card. Aha. Now this... you fucking got goosebumps again. This Five of Pentacles has been really impactful for me. So the deck and walk that we've done, we're walking the sun through the year, right? So if we walked the sun through the 3 decans of Aries, so Aries 1, Aries 2, and Aries 3. Sorry, I have no idea what that noise was. And watched how the energies of that decan and the corresponding tarot card that goes with it were playing out in our lives, right? And for me, it was really interesting, because I found Aries to be far, far more subtle than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be very much up in my face and all that kind of thing, and it wasn't. It was actually very discreet, and I had to be quite still to see where it was playing out. Conversely, the energies of Taurus have been quite like, and maybe that's the fixed bull presentation of a thing, but I was expecting it to be milder. Now, the kind of thinking that I've done around this card is focused much more on the fear of poverty than the over experience of it. And thinking about this card further, then kind of presenting myself with the question being, if I change nothing about the way that I do everything right now, where will I be in 5 years' time? What will have changed? What will be the same? Will I be any closer to, fulfilling my potential, whatever that means? Or will I be just kind of bobbing around in the same sort of space? Because the Five of Pentacles offers us an opportunity for change, which I have felt is quite dramatic in the way that it's shown itself up. But again, it's not giving you the roadmap for it. It's just asking you to look ahead from this point, and if you don't change anything, what is everything going to be? And do you like what you've got enough right now not to change anything? I think across the board, most of us would go, well, could tweak a few things, So here it is showing up for you as a Taurus card. And it's asking you to reach within yourself, ask yourself that question, and then with the energy of the Emperor, go, so what do I need to start putting in place? What structure, what order do I need to start putting in place for this to happen, for these changes, these little tweaks, if it is that, or monumental changes to occur? You notice that we've got the Seven of Wands at the bottom of the deck, again, speaking to the willingness, the bravery, the courage to do those things. But again, because it's something so big in the story of Taurus, right? And anything related to work as a concept, I think, is a big thing for Taurus anyway. Like your work ethic is legendary, right? But in terms of things like career, you work really hard to be good at what you do. It's important for you to be good at what you do. You're a good team player, all that sort of stuff, right? But also in terms of your great work. I saw once in 2020, I had a Taurus comment under one of the videos and say they thought that they were addicted to self-improvement as a thing. And I thought that was quite funny. But maybe there is something about that. I feel like Taurus is dedicated, healthy Tauruses are dedicated to continued self-improvement. It's another part of the archetype, right? So anything around the work idea is always going to be big for you. And here you are, kind of sitting on the edge, almost on the threshold of, is this the best idea I've ever had, or is this the most fucking stupid idea I've ever had? Because I'm kind of feeling like maybe it's time to do the thing. And this requires quite an extensive internal examination because, like I said, you're making contact with a bit of you that you have pushed to the side and said, not for the like of me. That, the fire signs do that shit. Aries definitely would do that shit. That sort of thing. So I am wondering if there is a level of visibility to this. That's possible. Because that would definitely mark a difference between Taurus and fire signs on that front, right? The fire signs that don't really care often about the amount of attention that they get for a thing. Whereas Taurus would be like, don't look at me, I'm part of the herd. Let's have a little look. Five of Swords. Why is this here? I fucking hate it when they fall on the floor like that. I mean, it's my own fault for the way that I shuffle, right? But let's have a little look. What have we got here? Eight of Cups. It's time, Taurus. And that's the thing. It's time. Whatever grand plan you've ever had, whatever big dream you've ever had, that you've kept hiding behind the, it's not for the like of me. All the evidence around you that you are objectively looking at right now is actually telling a very different story. And at this point, it feels actually a little disingenuous to keep trying to pretend that it's not for you. So the question is, why not you? And not said in a kind of desperately pleading with your subconscious kind of way, but it's a straightforward question, like, why wouldn't you do that thing? Why wouldn't you take this change? Why wouldn't you change your skill set? Why wouldn't you apply your skill set in a different way? Double Pisces. Why wouldn't you lean into what you know? And I'm not just talking about in terms of your skill set and whatnot, but like what you know to be true, what you've felt building for quite a long time, and accept the legitimacy of that such that you begin to move in a different direction. I mean, there's a big overarching story here of personal acceptance of yourself, which is significant, and we shouldn't gloss over it, because this is a big fucking deal, Taurus. But from a strictly what's the word that I'm looking for? Practical, right? From a strictly practical point of view, it's time for a change. And I feel like the universe has put all the things in place to show you at least the direction that you need to turn, right? The number of degrees that you need to turn, if not what the end result of that thing is. And it's asking you to be brave, but it's asking you to be to be brave in a way that you know how to do. So it's not really a problem, unless you make it a problem. So, with all of that said, oh fucking hell, let's have a look and see what is the next step, because that's all you need is the next step. What's the next step for Taurus? This is fucking love that. Oh, we have the Ace of Cups. We have the Chariot. Oh my god, I fucking... I wish just once everybody could feel, just once, what the sensation of the goosebumps that start from the ankles and roll right up your body and across your scalp feels like. Because actually, for someone who has ADHD, right, and problems and lives on their fucking Neptune line and is just fucking overstimulated by life all the time, that is a layer of unnecessary that the universe forces on me every single fucking time I do a reading. Gets my attention though, not gonna lie. Wow. That's really interesting. So the card we have at the bottom of the deck is the Five of Pentacles again. Maybe this is what we need to lean into, right? The idea that if you change nothing, if you continue on the path that you are on with no significant change whatsoever, like, is, 45-year-old you gonna be happy with what 40-year-old you was doing? The same thing. Is 60-year-old you gonna be happy with what 55-year-old you was doing? I mean, there are too many things, it feels to me, Taurus, that have changed for you to continue just doing the same shit. Now, you might be very good at that shit. It might pay very well. It might give you all sorts of things. But this turning, it's here. And you know that it's here. And maybe all you need to lean on is that contemplation of not just do I want another 5 years of doing exactly what I'm doing right now, but is me in 5 years doing exactly the same thing right now with no opportunity for change? I mean, if nothing else, 2026 gives us a lot of fucking leeway, all the leeway, to do different things. Now, this is measured because you're not, you're not leaving a job as a nurse to go be a pop singer or something like that, right? Try and make your fortune doing that. Like, there's a logical cross applicability to at least part of the skill set that you already have, just applying it in a different direction, or maybe adding to what you've already got. But definitely that sense of a turn is here. And well, Ace of Cups and the Chariot, right? The only thing you really need to do is lean on, have faith in, and trust yourself, and start this process moving forward, whatever it is. The Chariot card is a card of self-awareness, and it comes back to what I was saying before. Like, the evidence contradicts that view you've had in your head that things aren't for the like of you, because look at what you've done over the last 8 years. It's honouring the relationship that you have with yourself is as much about questions like, I'm going to throw this at you. What's the worst that could happen? In 2022, 2020, 2018, that question alone would have struck fear into your heart. Like, palpitations, sweaty, clammy, the whole works. What do you mean, what's the worst could happen? And you would list off, this tremendous fucking huge long parchment scroll of shit that could go wrong, that would be devastating and effectively paradigm ending for you, right? Well, you tend to find that kind of question, or that, and the approach to life that that kind of question betrays, coming from people who know that whatever comes along, it'll be sound. Like whether it works out, whether it doesn't work out, there's going to be fun that could be had along the way, right? It's actually quite a Sagittarian take on life, right? But I think this is a question that you can quite realistically ask yourself now. What is the worst that could happen, right? If it doesn't work out, I'll just do something else. Why? Because I can, and I know that I can. And that's extraordinary. But that's where you are. Seven of Swords in reverse, and the Two of Wands in reverse is very, very interesting, because in the way that I'm reading these cards here together right now, this feels very much like, don't even pretend like doing nothing is an option, right? Let's not lie to ourselves about that. You know that the crossroads is here. You know that the universe is actually guiding a lot of things around for you here. It's shown you things you've needed to see about yourself and about the world, and it has planted within your head the seed of possibility that what was not for you could now be for you. And who are you to question that, really? And I mean, if you are going to question it, bring evidence. Because I don't think you've got any. And I think that you know that, and that's the thing. So there's no realistic desire of staying in the comfort zone. You might as well throw yourself into it wholeheartedly. Because what's the worst that could happen? Doesn't work out, you do something else. Taurus. This is outstanding. This is really cool. This is like literally witnessing. I had a dog. I didn't really have a dog. It was my late husband's dog. It was a fucking nightmare. It was a lurcher, and on top of that, it was the fastest lurcher that anybody had ever fucking seen. Even like 6 months old, it was fast as fuck. But it also had an extraordinary predilection for breaking out of the fucking garden. And living in Yorkshire as I did at the time, obviously, I was surrounded by fields of sheep and cow everywhere. Like, they're just everywhere. And I remember he broke out of the garden one day, and it literally, the fence was what separated the field from my garden. He broke out, and he started chasing cows around in the field, and I was calling in, and I was yelling him, I was trying to get him back, and this particular cow was running away, and it was almost like I saw the moment that it realised it was a fucking cow, and enormous, and it kind of slowed down and then stopped and looked around with this kind of like, hang on a second, and it turned around and it looked at the dog, and I went, fuck you, and started running at the dog. The dog shit his shit, so I just ran away. I was like, oh my god, and he came straight back to the garden, which was very good for me. The dog nearly got shot a couple of times. It was a nightmare. You know you're a bull, not a cow. You've known this for a long time. This feels like just the latest version of putting your money where your mouth is, Taurus. And to some extent, this isn't a huge leap. It's a natural next step from everything that you have been doing up until this point. So let's not pretend that you're fine with everything is the way that it is right now. Let's not pretend that you'd be quite happy doing the same thing in 5 years' time. You've got ambition, you've got a desire, you've got something that feels like a calling, and it's quiet at the moment, it's whispering quietly to you at the moment, but that will get louder as you turn round to face the noise, because that's weird how our ears were, right? We look at sound instead of pointing our ears at it. It will start to get louder. And it doesn't matter that you don't know where you're going with it, because the call is there and it cannot be ignored. This is extraordinary. Right, I've been shitting on for ages, Taurus, so I'm going to go away now to the extended. If you would like to join me, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Selfie, you can do that on Circle. Be delighted to see you everywhere, you know that. Um, But otherwise, know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.